back to my channel. So today's video is going to be quite a short one, actually, quite a snappy one. I wanted to talk about something a little bit different, I suppose, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm just tired. That's why there wasn't a video on Wednesday. I'm not gonna go into details of it, but just a lot of work and stuff, and I am just not really thriving. What's new? But yeah, so I kind of just wanted to do something a little bit more chill. Also, I really don't know if I am vibing with the centre parting. So many people always say, oh, like, I prefer your hair with centre parting, and it has kind of got to the length now where it's kind of acceptable to put in a centre parting, although the fringe bits are still a little bit not that cute. So anyway, that aside, I'm going to get into it, and basically today's video is going to be a little bit about sort of how to kind of figure out what you want to do with your life. I want to say at the start that I have no like set ideas what I want to do. Like, I know kind of where I want to go, but I just want to stress that it's by no means set in stone, and that it by no means needs to be set in stone ever. At any point in your life you can change as much as you want to. And also that this is mainly talking about people who are perhaps like not set on going to do like an internship or something because they're not too sure about, you know, like what career they exactly want to do, and they don't want to like go into an internship where that's kind of the path that they have to take from there. Or people who are doing a degree in like nothing too specific, like a humanities or something, and they're not really sure how to like translate those skills into something else. That's basically what this video is all about. So to give you a bit of backstory to me, like I have gone through quite a few different like ideas as to what I wanted to do growing up. So I started out in year sort of 7, 8, very much being like math, science, doctor. Like I was pretty sure I wanted to be a doctor. I think just because I'd heard that that was kind of like, you know, like the sort of set career for people that were really good at maths and science, which is obviously really wrong. Like I can't stress how wrong that idea is. But like when I was like in year 7, I thought, oh, I'll be a doctor, I'll be rich and like really well respected and stuff. And like, not that doctors don't deserve to be well respected, but like I had this idea in my head of like being a doctor as being like the only, you know, like legitimate career choice. But I soon sort of realised when I watched like Holby City and Casualty that I could barely even cope with the sight of blood, and I really hate injections. So I realised that that was probably not the career for me quite quickly. But all the way through school I never really had like a particular idea of what I wanted to do. As I sort of got into A levels and I took languages and English, I was thinking, oh, maybe diplomacy, translation, the UN. I went and did some work experience at the UN and I did really like that. But then obviously as my YouTube channel started to take off and I had a bit more of a public image, sort of like realising like the benefits of sort of working flexibly and stuff as well. Like there's just so many things that changed for me, and it was only really in my 2nd year of uni where I got really kind of sure what I think I want to do, and that's what I kind of want to go into in this video. I'm hoping to maybe go into journalism. I've still not quite decided if I prefer written or broadcast journalism, because I think obviously my YouTube is, and like I do a lot of video editing, but I also do really like writing, so I've yet to kind of figure that one out. But I thought I would still do this video because I do kind of know what I want to do now. This isn't going to be about how to get into journalism or anything, because I mean I don't really know how to get into journalism because I'm not into journalism yet. But this video is just going to be more about in general. But if you want to follow my journalism Twitter for more stuff about journalism, or you'd like, then my god, I can't speak today, I'll put my Twitter down below if you want to like go and like follow that and like read some of my articles or whatever. Or if you want me to do a whole video on it, I can also do that. Just let me know in the comments and give this video a thumbs up. But I want to talk a bit more about how I kind of came to that decision. It's not like a hard and fast process, like with like steps. So I'm just going to talk about different things that I did that really helped me. So the first thing I did was kind of think about like generally what I'm good at. So not just academically, but also socially. So I remember when I was having a bit of a career crisis, sort of like mid this year, I literally wrote down a list of the things that I think academically I'm quite good at and socially. So I said I'm quite good at just talking to people, like I'm quite open, I can just string a sentence, well I say I can string a sentence together, but I'm quite good at just talking and like putting my ideas together. So I put that as like an academic and a social one. But I also said I feel like I've got quite a nice writing style. I think I can write quite well and communicate quite well, so that was like an academic one. And then I also did like, I like being on the move. I'm very good at sort of like being on the go. I'm quite reliable, whatever. So I put these skills on a page just so I knew sort of like what I was working with, because obviously everyone's got strengths and weaknesses. I definitely have quite a lot of weaknesses as well as strengths, and like that is a really good way of starting, just to kind of see what you're working with in a way. Like on LinkedIn you can kind of do that where you have all the different skills, but you don't need to have a LinkedIn. You can kind of just do it I don't know, like just with a piece of paper and a pen, and that is the first thing to do, I think, is just because you need to know what you're sort of like, well, not even academic, or just like certain like work-based skills, whether that's like a certain skill like in, I don't know, like engineering or software design or whatever, or you're really good with Excel and like you're good with like computers, or you're really good like with practical things. And then also just aspects about you as a person that you think you kind of want to channel into a job. Then I would kind of write down sort of what qualifications you have, whether that's GCSEs, A-levels, an apprenticeship, a diploma in something, and how those could be helpful. But remember that just because you did A-levels in certain subjects or you did a diploma in a certain subject doesn't mean that you necessarily have to go into that. Obviously, if you didn't do any A-levels in science, you probably aren't going to be able to go into like veterinary medicine, you know. But it's never too late. It's never too late to do A-levels or courses or things like that. I'm just trying to like generalize here a little bit for the sake of a video. But I would say, yeah, write down all of your qualifications. That's what I did. So I was like, okay, I've got GCSEs in this, I've got A-levels in this is the degree that I'm gonna have, and whatever. And then obviously it's also worth remembering that you can get more qualifications. So if you're going into journalism, you can get a specific qualification. If you're going into law, you do a law conversion course, what have you. But I would definitely recommend writing down like both of those. So now on your page you've got the qualifications you've got and the skills that you also have, and that means that you've got a good basis from which to work, because when you're researching careers, like there's often websites that will tell you like what sort of skills you need for that career, what sort of qualifications you need for that career, what sort of like personality traits and attributes that are beneficial in that career. And that can be a really good way to be like, okay, I feel like this would be quite tailored to me, or I feel like perhaps this is something that I either need to work on or change. Once you've done that, I would really recommend doing a list of passions. So I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm not really passionate about anything, right? And I had this because I am exactly the same. I genuinely would say, like, up until about 6 months ago, I was a bit like, I'm just really not that passionate in anything. Like, I just don't have it. Like, when I was younger, I used to, like, obsess over things, whereas now, like, I mean, I like my degree, I love languages, but I'm not got like a passion for translation or like a burning desire to study like I find the things that I study interesting, but like you know, they don't like wake me up in the morning a lot of the time, right? And so I was a bit like, oh my god, I've got no passions. But I would say, like, really dig deep, think about like trivial things that you do every day, things that you might not think are a passion, but if you actually think about it quite deeply, like they are a passion, because they're things that you do regularly that you find yourself drawn to doing. So for me, that was always YouTube. I've always, you know, like loved doing this. I love talking to a camera, I love interacting with people, I love like saying my opinions on things, whatever. You know that if you follow my Twitter. And I also always have watched the news. I've always followed politics. I've always been interested in Westminster, in everything that's going on there. And, you know, like in other areas as well, but like mainly, you know, politics, home affairs, what have you. And then you can start to like put together a list of things that you really enjoy, because realistically, I know that like, you know, you have to be pragmatic in some senses, but the best career to have is one that gets you up in the morning and one that you really do want to do. So for me, the thought of getting up and then writing news stories or reporting about political affairs in Westminster, or I don't know, in the US, or writing features on things that I'm really interested in and having them published and talking to people about them on Twitter, that sounds like perfect to me. So I quickly realised that a lot of my passions I could kind of bring into a career, and that is a really, really good way of doing it. Your passions might be photography, you might like music, you might like sport, you might like whatever it is you like. Even if it doesn't feed directly into a career, it's nice to have it on a piece of paper so you can see that you're a driven and passionate and motivated individual. So once you've got all of your academic, social skills and passions and qualifications, now you've kind of got a little bank, a little portfolio when you're looking around at jobs and things, that you can kind of have like a mental tick box in your head. Obviously, life is flexible, life changes, you don't need to tick off every single thing every single time. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's nice to have an idea of what you are about as a person, because if you're looking at careers and you don't have that, then you're looking at like the pay, you're looking at like other things, you're not fitting that into you as a person and how you as a human being would fit that career. You're just thinking about how that career fits to what you think that your life should be like in a few years. So I think that the main way, obviously this is a bit difficult at the moment, and all of mine has been cancelled, like literally all of it. We love to see it, of figuring out what you want to do as work experience. So I genuinely just spent hours researching websites, emailing companies, tweeting people on Twitter, messaging people on DMs, whatever, just trying to find some work experience. I'm not going to do too much advice on how to get work experience in this video because I have already done a video like linked to that on my channel. But basically, work experience, work experience, work experience. Even if it's a job that you're not sure on, it's a good way of eliminating things that you don't want to do. I did work experience at the UN and I did really love it, but I realised that the bureaucracy was quite frustrating for me. Whereas when I went to Sky News, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this, I love the pace, I love the energy, I love it, I feed off it. And everywhere that I've done work experience has taught me something different. Either A, it bolsters your CV and it makes your CV look good, and it doesn't matter if it's not relevant to what you eventually decide to go into because it will still show that you're a passionate individual, and B, it helps you decide sort of, does this fit with me as a person? Think of the checklist that we were just talking about, and you can kind of start to like do that mental tick box in your head when you're at work experience. And also there's no way you're going to know what a career is like unless you actually go and try it. Imagine if you want to be a lawyer and then you sign up to it and you don't go on any work experience, and then you actually do all of the law conversion course, you do everything, you pay all that money, and then you hate it. And then you're just stuck because you feel like you can't leave because you paid all that money, and you know what I mean? So I really can't stress enough that when this whole corona shebang is over, get some work experience. But you can even do remote internships. Like, there are so many remote internships that are being offered at the moment. Anything you can do to get a flavour of that is a really good thing to do. The next one I was going to say is definitely something that you can do whilst Corona's going on, is to just get immersed, get involved. So to take journalism for an example, there are loads of Zoom talks at the moment from young journalists about how to get into journalism. I follow like so many journalists on Twitter. I talk to journalists. I'm aware, like just a disclaimer, that to have connections is a real privilege, and I'm very privileged that I have like a principal of LMH who literally was editor of The Guardian, and like through that I've also met other people through events that have been on at LMH. There's lots of journalists come to LMH, and I also have a lot of friends who have gone into journalism as well. So I'm very aware that I'm very privileged and I have those connections, and I definitely am really grateful for them. If you don't have connections in the field, that is also okay. There are so many websites. Obviously I'm just talking about journalism specifically, but medicine, law, whatever, creative, graphic designs, engineering, earth sciences, whatever. Have a look around, have a look on Twitter, have a look on Instagram, have a look just everywhere you can find for opportunities. In fact, if anyone's got any opportunities for specific careers, be sure to comment them down below. Go have a look at the comments, there might be something there for you. And just try and find stuff that like makes you tick. Try and find stuff that, I don't know, like Zoom calls that you find really interesting, like guest speakers, or even watch videos on YouTube like day in the life of someone I know. Does like a TikTok of like her work at the BBC, which I think is really, really cool, and that's a really good way to be able to see things like that as well. Like, there are so many options and things. I would say just get immersed, get involved, and try your best to sort of get that perspective of like what the career would be like. And yeah, don't be afraid to message people on Twitter. Like, I do it all the time. Even if you don't know them, just message them. If they don't reply, then okay, but it's worth a shot. Like, I know that a lot of people are really busy and everything, but it's worth giving it a go, and just talk to whoever you can get your hands on, basically. And I know that I've given lots of practical advice here, but I do also just want to stress that the main thing that you can do to really help yourself when you're thinking about what you want to do when you grow up is to get rid of all the shoulds, like, oh, I should be doing this because it earns a certain amount of money, or I should be doing this because I want to look a certain way, I should be living here, I should be doing X. Get rid of everything, every like pre-expectation that you have. It's worth noting that some of the most prominent people in all of their fields came through it by a really unconventional route. Some of them started in completely different areas. Like Angela Merkel, she's the Chancellor of Germany, and she's got like a postgraduate in like chemistry or physics or something like that. Like, everyone goes through their own path. There is no conventional path. For example, sorry to take law as an example again, you don't necessarily need to like literally just burst through all of the hurdles and then like start training contract when you're like 21. Like, you can come to law later, you can do different things. Like, look at Kim Kardashian, for God's sake. Like, I know obviously like that's a whole other discussion about privilege or whatever, but she came to that relatively late, and not late in life, but later in her life than would be expected of someone going into law. Like, try and get rid of all the preconceptions that you have about when you need to be at certain deadlines and when you need to have figured out certain things. Like, it's okay to just do different jobs until you figure out what really makes you tick. It's okay to try different things. It's okay to do something to just get you by. Like, whatever you need to do to kind of get where you want to be, like, just remember that, like, you know, worries about what other people are going to think about you, what preconceptions you had in your own head for how your life was going to turn out. Like, none of that should be playing a factor. And I'm aware that there are so many other issues that I could talk about in this video, to do with class, to do with privilege, to do with wealth, to do with all of the sort of like hurdles that are put in some people's way that aren't put in other people's way. I'm aware of that, and that is a discussion that we need to be having. But I also just want to say that, like, there are a lot of this, like, the buck stops with you and stops with what you think about your abilities and your abilities to do well. And yes, okay, there are other hurdles, and like that is something that we need to acknowledge and we need to work against, but also just try and free yourself of preconceptions about what you saw yourself doing in the future, and like what you saw yourself being, and like how much money you saw yourself earning. And I promise you that when you do that, like, you will start to free yourself like so much. To give an example, I was like so against the idea of written journalism. I was like, it's not for me, it's not for me, because I thought I kind of wanted to be like, you know, like a news presenter on the TV and whatever. And then I realised no, because I'm actually quite good at writing, and I know that I am, and I actually know that it's a strength of mine. And then when I got rid of that preconception that I wanted to be working like as the next frigging like Laura Kuenssberg, which I mean would be great, don't get me wrong, then that's when like my career options started to open up for me, and it started to become clearer. Like, I just did that, like my ears look great. It started to become clearer what I wanted to do. So please don't limit yourself by your own preconceptions, basically. So I hope that this video helped. It was kind of like half tips, half motivational speech, but I've touched on like various issues that I really do want to go deeper into at some point, but I know that this is just one video, and I hope that by acknowledging my privilege but also giving you some tips on how you can start getting kick-started, that this would be really helpful for you guys. If you have any resources that you think could help people watching this video, please do comment them down below. Let's make the comments like a forum of useful tips and advice and tricks and resources that we can all share. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's helped you in some way, and I'll see you maybe Wednesday, maybe Saturday, depending on how this workload continues, with a new video. Bye guys. Mwah.